singing, we will rock you.
Good morning, I'm Denny Mclain.
And I'm Ron Cameron. Welcome to another edition of Sports Talk. We're about to announce the signing of Denny Mclain with the Tigers.
Awards,
True? Is that true or what? Answer the question.
Get out of the dumper for a minute, okay?
Hold on now.
Awards.
Bonderman signed.
Awards, rewards, trades, and Jeremy Bonderman.
Bonderman.
That's what we're going to talk about right now. We've got the great Perry Farrell from the Detroit Free Press here today. The Detroit Pistons and Red Wings, are either of them going to win a ball game, much less play? And lastly, and certainly not least, we've got our friends in the audience are going to ask us some questions as we get to the end of the show. But first, the awards.
Okay.
Cabrera, I cannot, you know what? They just did something that I find rather ridiculous.
What was that?
First of all, baseball has done a great job in marketing themselves recently, the last 10 years. They've done a much better job than they've ever done in the past. Now what they've done is they've gone out and they've listed the finalists for awards, for the MVP, for the Cy Young, Comeback Player of the Year, to promote the game, to keep the game alive. It's a lot easier right now because in this town you got the Pistons who can't beat us, and you've got the Red Wings who can't beat anybody because they don't have any ice to skate on. So you've got a lot more Tiger stuff to talk about. But Cabrera's got to be a lock. Absolutely 100% lock.
He will win it, but shouldn't win it.
The MVP?
That's correct.
Why do you do this anti-Detroit thing?
No, it's not anti-Detroit. Denny, look, let me tell you, folks, this guy, Cabrera, most of his stats were against AAA pitchers in the American League Central Division, whereas Trout in the American League West, the ERAs of the starting pitchers were a run and a half less than the American League Central.
So you want to punish him because of the schedule?
He had a better season, Trout, than Cabrera.
Trout did not have a better.
He had almost as many home runs.
Hang on a minute.
Okay.
When Trout went to the World Series this year, did he play center field or did he have to buy his way in with a ticket?
They won more games than the Tigers in a tougher division, Denny.
So what? That's for baseball to figure out.
Well, they figured out wrong. I said I was going to vote, if I had to vote for Cabrera, the MVP, because what I saw him do down the stretch. But he found out in the World Series when he faced good pitching, great pitching, he didn't hit him. And if he had faced that American League West staff all year like Trout did, he wouldn't have near the numbers. Denny, you know that's true.
If you ever get a vote, the whole committee will be drunk that day.
No. Denny.
What?
You just look at the numbers, ERAs.
Enough.
You look at what? Don't you go by ERAs?
Let me tell you one thing I'm insulted about.
What's
Ryan Braun is in consideration.
Yeah.
Here's a guy that did every legal, and listen, he's entitled to do the legal thing, but to consider him an MVP player in the league this year in any kind of order, I think is disingenuous at best and a disgrace at the worst.
Also, they should have, look what they took about Cabrera, or the Milky Cabrera. They took away his batting title. They said, it's not there. You don't win it.
Well, he didn't play. I don't think he even hit enough. I don't think he had enough at bats to qualify anyway.
I think he did have enough at bats. He only lost 50 games, so I think he did have enough. It was close.
What the hell do you care?
Okay, but the point is, they took away his batting title. They should take him out of the consideration.
They took nothing away from him. Nothing. He didn't qualify.
I think he did qualify.
Justin Verlander, for some reason, people think he's going to win the Cy Young again. I don't know how he can because you got a kid who may be, by the way, the best pitcher in the American League, this kid Price down. Now, I'm talking about pitcher. People confuse pitcher with stuff. Verlander, obviously, when he's got the ball rolling, has got the best stuff that anybody's seen in a long time. But this guy Price, good stuff or bad stuff, gets everybody out. I mean, he really, and he's got a, he doesn't have the monster curveball that a Koufax has, or when Verlander's really got his good stuff. But he's got a curveball that he gets over all the time, and that's the big difference between a pitcher who wins and a pitcher who really wins. And I think this kid, if he stays healthy, is going to win a lot of ball games.
I do not think either one deserved the Cy Young, and a runaway.
Now, this is going to be interesting. Go ahead. All right. Listen to this, folks.
How about camera right over here? There we go.
Listen to this.
The winner in this and a runaway should be Fernando Rodney. Yeah, Tiger fans, Fernando Rodney. Why? 48 out of 50 saves this year, an ERA of 0.50. 0.50. That's what his ERA was. He should win the Cy Young on a runaway, and he won't win it, and that's a shame. Are you disagreeing?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't even realize it until 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Until I told you about it.
When you told me about it.
Yeah.
And I was quite shocked because,
yes, look at the numbers.
He was the poo-poo pot when he was here. He wasn't very good. But I will tell you this, that 48 out of 50,
50 saves?
47.
0.50. That's
I
unheard
think
of.
it's, he's won the comeback player
5
of the
runs
year,
all year.
right? The comeback player of the year he's won. So he's got one great award. Although the comeback player of the year is not a sanctionable award
It's
or
not an
reward
MLB award.
from the MLB, which makes no sense either. Now, folks, we've got only about a minute and a half left in this segment. We've got to get to this. Jeremy Bonderman, as we speak today, has signed or has been offered a contract to come back and pitch again.
I think it's funny. I think it's funny.
The guy's worked his butt off.
Oh, yeah,
he
good
had
for
the
him.
Tommy John surgery. He's done it all. He ran into the Tigers. I suspect that he went to the ball game to see the Tigers and told them that he was relatively
Good for him.
healthy.
Really good for him.
It's a great story in one sense, but here's my question. The guy wasn't any good when he was healthy.
He was okay. He
won 14 games in the best year the
was
Tigers have
okay.
had in 35 years, okay? And he won 14 games one year, and his ERA was 4.5 or something. That is not a good pitcher. I'm not disparaging the guy. Don't misunderstand me. I'm just saying I don't understand all the hoopla, because if I had it in my world, Porcello would go the way I wanted Bonderman to go after the 2006 season, because what I'd always said is Bonderman will never have more value. I don't think he'll be a big league pitcher. Trade him now. Of course, they held on to him, gave him $40 million, and he went home. Porcello is going to wind up with the same situation. He's going to wind up with $30, $40, $50 million, and I don't think he'll ever be a big league pitcher.
Not here in Detroit with the shortstop they got here, he won't.
We are coming back immediately with the one and the only Perry Farrell from the Free Press. Welcome back. Perry Farrell from the Detroit Free Press joins us. And first of all, thank you for coming to the show. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
No problem other than sitting next to this.
Oh,
guy.
you love it. Don't give me that.
I'm sorry. Next time you come, we'll make better arrangements.
There you go. That's the one.
And first of all, before we get into what we wanted to talk to you about, you've got a book coming out.
Yeah, book coming out in March about the Pistons. It came out originally in 2004, and we did an update and some rewriting. So it'll be out in March 2013.
I don't know if this question can be done quickly, but is there much to talk about the Pistons at this point in time? I mean, I really asked you to come because I wanted to talk to you about the Lions. But what I'm talking about, the current basketball team.
It's been a gradual decline to the point now where I think there could be a house cleaning at the end of the season. You have an owner who's impatient, second year of owning the team, and last year you got a hall pass because of the strike.
Sure.
So you only pay 66 games. Now you got a situation where they're 0-5, could end up being 0-8, 0-9. So it could be a really long year. And I don't know how patient Tom Gorse is going to be with Joe Dumars and Lawrence Frank.
Let me ask you this, though. If you were Joe Dumars before this, what would you do differently? Because he's brought some good young players, I think. I think Drummond's going to be a player in this league.
Well, I never would have brought in Charlie Villanueva.
Oh, I agree with
nor
that.
Ben Gordon.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have traded for Allen Iverson, and I wouldn't have drafted Darko. That's just
Everybody
my
else would have
opinion.
drafted Darko. The GMs all said they would have.
You
Okay,
know, you can say it now after the fact, but
Yeah.
when it came time to push that button, we don't know who would have drafted
all right.
Darko.
Let me ask you this: what's Tayshaun Prince and Villanueva still doing on this team?
Well, Charlie, because they didn't want to amnesty him, and Tayshaun, they felt would be a glue between the old regime and the new regime.
He was part of the problem, not the solution.
I disagree. What has he done wrong?
I think he quit on the last coach here, and that's not right.
No, they all quit on John
That's right. He was
Schuster.
part of it.
So
He was part of
and
it.
you got rid of him.
I don't think he's a
They
player.
got rid
He's
of
gonna-
Mike Brown today. The Lakers.
Right,
know
the
it.
Lakers did.
Yeah.
But there's an old rule, and whether it be basketball, football, baseball, hockey, can't fire the players.
You fire the coach.
You fire the coach. That's the only way you can make an adjustment and start to move
But
forward.
the coach is not the problem here.
Oh, we just
You
stop it
got
already.
5 rookies.
That's
you have
right.
a team
He's not the problem here.
that's some talent, but you know what? Today you have to have at least 2 stars.
Absolutely.
Look at the great teams. You got LeBron and Wade. You got Westbrook and Durant
Durant
and
from
Oklahoma
Oklahoma
City.
City.
You got to have at least 2 guys who can go out and get you 30 points a night. And if you can't score the basketball, which is one of their major problems, and if you can't defend, you have no clue.
Yeah, they really don't.
We got some good young players, and I think
Yeah,
they'll be
good
pretty
young
good.
players
I
who
think
would
so.
all be. It's a team of role players.
Yes,
there's
you're
no
right.
star,
Yeah.
and that's why they can't win.
That's right. Yeah, no direction. There's just absolutely no direction with the game that I've seen so far. And if Joe doesn't do something quick, which I don't think he's capable
nothing
of
to
doing,
do, right.
he's gone. He's got to be gone.
It's probably the case, and
Yeah.
Lawrence Frank also, because if you sit there and win 29 games in a half-full arena, it's not going to happen.
All right,
All right,
wait,
let's talk about the Lions
move on.
now.
The Lions.
Let's talk the Lions.
How about Sue? I mean, is he as dirty and filthy as they say?
Well, now he's a rep guy. He's had a reputation. He's had one penalty all year, but he got voted as the dirtiest player in the league. So that's based on reputation, not on what he's done this year. And to be frank about it, that defensive line is supposed to be so dominating, and it's not. And that's part of the problem why they're 4-4.
And Sue's part of the problem.
Well, his sacks are down, and he hasn't
way
been
down.
as productive. But he gets double teamed, so other guys have to take up the slack, and it's just not happening. You got to jump 3 teams to make the playoffs. I don't see it happening.
No, I don't. What about
What's
Fairley?
with that
He's
schedule?
useless. It almost seems like.
I wouldn't say useless, but he's not as good as we all thought he was going to be, because at Auburn he was dominant.
Yes,
and he's
he
come
was.
here, he had a foot injury that slowed him down, and now we're not seeing the production that we thought we would of a guy that dominated college football.
And Delmas is hurt again.
And
Continues to be hurt.
His contract year is up. I wouldn't re-sign him because he's
Really?
always hurt.
Yeah.
How can you sign a guy to a contract that's missed on average 8 or 9 games
Yeah,
a season?
every
You can't
year.
do it.
There's no way this team makes the playoffs in my mind. I said at the start of the year.
You got 2 games with Green Bay. You got one in Atlanta, one with Houston, one with Chicago. I don't see it.
No.
Now, Raiola, I do not. You explain something to me. I've been around a long time. I've been the target of a lot of criticism from time to time.
No.
Yes, you have.
As you
No.
probably know.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is Raiola looking for? An award of some kind, taking as much abuse as he can? You know, there's one thing about it. Once they start and you pop off, they're not going away. I don't get it why he wants to keep this ball rolling.
Well, because he is a guy that stood up for Stafford the year that people were booing him and stuff. And Dominic, 11 years in the league, 11 years as a starter, a GM who was gutless enough not to put his name to a story, said something about him.
But
so
that's nothing new in the world of sports.
it happens. But, Dominic's the kind of guy that likes to, banter.
Okay, is the general manager right or wrong? Is he overrated? Is he a backup player?
He's not an all-star.
No, not by any stretch
He's
of the
not a
imagination.
first, second, or third team all-league
He's a
performer.
maybe a good backup.
He's
if
good
uses
for
his
what they
muscles.
have him doing.
You know, and maybe I'm wrong, but, whenever I hear a guy complain to, whether it be the media or whether it be to some undisclosed whoever, I always kind of believe that he's trying to take the attention away from his ability. Because we have a tendency to forget, because they won 10 games last year, that in fact, he was a part of the 0-16 disaster here.
Yes, he was.
And I would suspect, as well as I would like to forget about it too, but I almost want to say that he's trying to make excuses for something that happened in the past by going after this ghost, whoever that might be, ripping him all the time.
I blame Pro Football Weekly, because if you're going to print stuff that an anonymous source printed, then that guy's a coward, and you're more of a coward for even running it, because you're just trying to sell magazines.
Now let's go back to Sue for a second. His stats are way, way down. Now he's complaining he's not getting credits for tackles and things like that.
saw that.
What the hell is he trying to prove?
That's nitpicky.
That is nitpicky.
Do your job, get some sacks,
You'll get noticed.
be a havoc like you were supposed to be when they
And
drafted
he
you.
hasn't done the job.
Calvin Johnson.
He's hurt.
But let me ask you a question. Isn't there a rule on this team that the players are not supposed to talk about injuries and they will be fined by Mr. Schwartz?
The coaches aren't supposed to.
That's a grown man talking about his body.
I agree. I
So-
totally agree with you.
Schwartz
it's
is
coaches,
saying
Denny.
Schwartz is saying he didn't have a concussion. Calvin said that he did. I believe Calvin.
Yeah.
I believe Calvin.
Isn't it true, though, that Schwartz, his coaches, if they say anything about injury, they get fined?
You're supposed to print a injury report at the start of that week.
Right.
And if you don't, or you conceal names, that's a fine by the league.
No, I'm talking about Schwartz individually finding his coaches for talking about injuries on this
That's
team.
not legal. You can't do that.
Well, that's what he's
they,
doing.
They
That's
make
what-
people say, well, we don't talk
It's been in
about
the paper that
injuries.
he's been doing that.
You can say, I don't want to talk about injuries, but you can't make a grown man say, no, don't talk about injuries.
No, I'm talking about coaches talk about the players' injuries.
Well, he's the only one that wants to speak about injuries.
Yeah, but
That's why.
here's my point. Calvin has had a concussion, according to him,
Right.
and now he's got this nerve damage. Here's a guy that can probably make in the NFL, if he stays healthy, a couple $100 million, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Why would he go out there and risk what he's got going on right now? Because a guy with nerve damage and a recent concussion, all it takes is one bump, and he may be through.
That's the nature of the NFL, Denny. I mean, guys, any play can end your career.
Sure.
And he knows that, and he knows they can't win without him.
What about the fact that he's saying this? Do you think he's blaming that for all those drop passes because
He said he doesn't want to make an excuse, but then by saying it,
makes an excuse.
Makes an excuse, exactly.
30 seconds.
We agree on something for a
30
change.
seconds. Stafford, is he as good as he looks? I think he should be pitching for the Tigers.
He's only got one touchdown pass to his best receiver.
But he throws the ball. I'm telling you,
he's the best quarterback they have. But look who we've had to compare him against.
I totally agree with you. But he is dramatically different than anything we've ever had.
Yeah, and with a great offensive line and a running game, he'd probably be even better.
That's right.
Will we ever get a running back here?
Well, I think we have a half one in Mclain, sure.
We got a half one.
But a half one doesn't make it.
Best.
Well, him and Joy makes it a whole running back.
What about Best? He's a half one, too.
His career's over.
Perry Farrell,
so.
thank you. And again, the book is coming out real soon, Locker Room Tales. Make sure you get the book, okay? Perry, thank you very much.
Good to be here.
Thanks, Perry.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming back. Let's talk about the Lions.
Yes, let's do it.
A quick score.
I think the Lions will lose if Percy Harvins is playing and it's at 100%. Minnesota wins. They're tough at home. They got one of the best running backs. The only problem Minnesota's got, and the Lions can stop him, is Ponder, the quarterback. 2 of his last 3 games, he's passed for 55 or fewer yards.
The only reason I'm not going to go very much longer on this is because, there you go again, anti-Detroit.
I'm not anti-Detroit at all, Denny.
We're going to change the name of the show. Denny Mclain and Mr.
No,
Anti-Detroit.
no. Just because you're a homer, I'm not a homer.
I'm not a homer.
Well, I'm not a
Nobody
homer.
can accuse
I
me.
tell the truth.
Let's get to the Tigers. They're
Okay.
talking about making some trades. First of all, there's a great big rumor out there that they're talking hard time about Josh Hamilton.
That's a mistake.
There you go, anti-Detroit.
No, it's not an anti-Detroit.
Why
This
is it a
guy's got
mistake? This
a
guy,
lot of
all he does is hit
skeletons
home runs and drives in 100
He
runs
quit
every
the
year.
second half, the month of the season.
Why do you think when a guy has a bad time, he's quitting?
He stepped out of a few games that they thought he should have played.
He
Number
played
one,
148 games.
that still he lost games at the end of his plus.
20 of them he was hurt.
Then why isn't Texas making a big move to sign him?
They've offered him they're tentatively offered him a 3-year deal.
1-year qualifying offer,
They're
$13
going
million.
to give him a 3-year
They will
deal
give him-
at $14 million a year.
That's not
and
gonna
any
make it.
time, it may not make it, but he's going to get some big money.
He
and
is.
if we can give him as much money as we gave Fielder, which we won't, it'd be nice to have. Listen, think about the lineup: Fielder, Cabrera,
It's an offensive
Hamilton,
machine.
and who's your other guy? The guy that's been
you don't
Martinez.
think he's going to come back? He'll be
Listen,
back, Danny. He'll be back.
when people, especially hitters, when hitters are out that long of a time, almost a year and a half before, well, it will be more than a year and a half, more than a year and a half, they very seldom come even close to the player that they once were before they got
the
hurt.
same type injury Posey had, look at him now. He's younger, granted. He's bounced back in that injury. He's going to be the MVP in the National League, it looks like.
We'll see.
That's his first year back after that injury. Martinez will be fine.
Hamilton had 43 home runs.
Tremendous hitter.
128 RBIs.
Fantastic.
And you don't want him.
No,
Okay.
I'm not at that money, I don't. You don't want to give a guy
It's
seven.
not your money.
When I'm
get
sa-
it?
No, I get it, but I'm going to tell you.
It's like every
Why-
broadcaster in town. Well, you can't pay him that much money. Why? Is it coming out of your
No,
pocket?
well, here's the deal. You're signing already made a mistake signing Fielder to 9 years. He won't be here in 9
Oh,
years.
you're out of your mind.
You think
Made a
Fielder's going to be
mistake.
here 9 years?
I don't know if he's going to be
He
here
won't.
but 9 years,
So
but I know he's
stealing
going
money
to
at
get
the
paid
end.
for 9 years.
That's the trouble. That's the problem. You're going to. He
Listen,
wants.
Mike
he wants a
went for-
7-year contract.
Mike went for the gusto. Illich. He went
know
for the
he did.
gusto.
I
He
know
was
he did.
willing to pay for the gusto.
You're right.
I say this, and I don't want to upset anybody, especially in the, God forbid, the Tiger front office. But they did the wrong thing in September. They knew they didn't have a World Series winner. They knew it going in. They had some holes in the ball club, in the outfield.
Shortstop?
Second base.
Shortstop?
No, shortstop, I think, adequately fit.
He stinks.
God,
He's got no
anti-Detroit.
range. No, it's not
But I'm telling you, if
anti-Detroit.
they're going to
He has
spend
no
that kind of
range.
money on a guy in Milwaukee, they can spend enough money to find a second baseman or an outfielder, and they haven't done
Shortstop,
that.
not a second baseman.
Sanchez,
Shortstop,
we only got a short
shortstop.
period of time. Sanchez now wants a seven-year deal at, I think the last
About
number
100
was.
mil, something like
no,
that.
hang on a minute.
90-some.
It got to 100
90-some.
million today.
Yeah, I know
It
it.
got to 100
I know
million.
it.
Here's a guy that's under 500
For his career.
and wants $100 million a year.
Not
There's
a year, not a year, Danny.
$100 million for
Yeah,
the
not
term
a
of the
year.
7-year deal. Here's what I want. I want Greinke. Bring Greinke here. He's got more strikeouts, more innings pitched. He's more
wins.
reliable. He's more
Better record
responsible.
with worse ball
and you
clubs.
don't have to pay him as much money.
With worse ball clubs, Greinke. He won the Cy Young with KC.
He's played with some of the worst clubs in the
That's
world.
right.
I mean, it's just
I agree
awful.
with you. I agree with
he
you
can
there.
pitch, folks. He
He's
can
good.
really pitch.
He's
We'll be
good.
back with questions right after this. Now, listen, we've had an awful lot of fun with this segment of the show, questions from our audience. And if you want to be a part of our audience on every Friday that when we do tape, come on down. Just call us ahead of time at WADL, and we'd love to have you in our audience because we give you food and pizza, pop, and everything else.
Not today.
Well, oh, stop it now. Sir, your first question.
Hello, my name is Ron Rupert, and I'm from Roseville, Michigan.
Okay.
And my question is Jose Valverde, I thought, did a pretty good job for us all the 3 years or whatever he spent with us.
Did.
But I was wondering how come the pitching coach never, ever had him make a lob throw over to first base once in a while just to keep the runners more honest instead of allowing them
relievers
to
don't
just
do
walk
that
to
well,
second
do they,
base.
Denny?
You know, relievers
don't hold
are
on
trying to
to it.
prevent a run from being scored. That's their first psychological setup. They're not worried about guys on base. The second thing that they worry about is walking a guy because of the intensity of the moment. Sure. He did a hell of a job here.
Yes,
I mean, what was it this year? 45 out of 50 or 35
Somewhat
out of 40,
not-
something like that. Had a hell of a year. For a guy that only blew 5 saves, and I'm not his greatest defender, I mean, I thought he had a hell of a year. I'm sorry. And where he's going to go from here, I think they'll trade him. I don't
Can't trade him. He's a free agent.
I mean, he's a free agent. Wherever he winds up, I hope he gets himself back in great shape. I think he got out of shape towards the middle of the season.
But he lost weight, Denny. That's the thing. He lost
But
weight.
it looked like he lost weight, but I don't think he lost any weight. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Erica Grundyke. I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I was wondering what pitcher reminds you most of yourself?
Pitcher that reminds me most of myself. I don't know.
Bonderman.
That's a great question. I would think at one time Halladay with Philadelphia.
Oh,
At one
okay.
time Halladay, Greinke a little bit.
What's your motion? That's different motion.
Yeah, the only guy that comes close with the leg would be Verlander. Yeah, those would be the 3 guys, and all 3 of them threw very hard.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Amanda. I'm Lander from Grand Rapids, Michigan. And what are you thinking about us getting Justin Upton?
I love Justin Upton. Let me just read something to you.
Lord.
And this was not planned, not by much.
Yeah,
he was the
right.
#1 overall pick in
So is Delman
2005. He had 280 with 17 home runs and 60 RBIs this year. Played in 150 games. Do you hear me? I want a guy who wants to play. And if we can get rid of Bosch, Kelly, see, everybody loves this kid Garcia, and they all think he's going to be another Cabrera. I don't.
Got a great arm. He
He's
can
got
run.
a big swing, and unless somebody gets control of the big swing, the guy
He
won't
can
hit
learn that. He's
250.
21 years of
We'll
age,
see
Denny.
if he can.
He's
Well, I
21.
agree. He's a
21.
young kid. But Castellanos, that's your star. Smiley, I don't think they'll ever get rid of Smiley because he's left-handed and he throws strikes. But I would take your pick out of 3 or 4 of those guys. But if you want Upton, you better get a catcher when he comes over too, because believe it or not, our weakest position on our baseball team is catching.
Shortstop.
Anti-Detroit.
Shortstop.
Go ahead.
What is that? You're
You're-
anti-Detroit saying catching, man.
Sir, please.
Yeah, Denny. Ty Emlander from Grand Rapids, Michigan also.
Grand Rapids here today.
The last 2 World Series, I noticed the Tigers had a ton of trouble fielding the bunt, where the National League team seems so much better at it. Do you think it's an advantage to be a National League team because there's a lot more of a bunt game in their game?
No, I don't think there's an advantage. I'll tell you what the problem is. This is so anti-Jimmy Leland baseball team.
Yes.
The last couple of years,
You're right.
fundamentally, they couldn't field a bunt. They didn't know where to go with the ball sometimes when the ball was hit, especially when the ball was
He's
hit
a
back to
National
the
League
pitcher.
manager, Jim
He's a
Leland.
National League manager. That's exactly right. And it got in the way of some of the things that he was doing. Jimmy's a great manager. Jimmy understands the game better than most. But I want to tell you something. Our guys come out of spring training doing a bad job on fundamentals. Every year they come out bad. We see it when it becomes intense. We really see it a lot.
Well, you got your problems, and the fielder is not a good first baseman. And Cabrera doesn't come in good on balls at all. So you got your statues in the infield, and that shortstop had him in there. That's your problem defensively. And when you play a National League team, they're going to take advantage of that. They're going to take advantage of that, and they did.
You're so anti.
What'd you anti have to do? I'm just telling the truth.
What,
You don't think Cabrera's a statue?
Let me just give you one real quick fact.
Sure.
I'm going to ask you a question,
All right.
and then we're going to say goodbye. All right? Were we in the World Series this year?
Listen, yes, they were in the World Series this year.
So were we that bad?
No, you weren't that bad. Defensively, the Tigers led the league in ground balls not fielded. The balls got through.
So
because of
what? We were in the World Series.
because Chicago gagged it at the end. They had a 3-game lead.
Chicago gagged it all year with us.
Three-game lead with 15 to go. Chicago blew it.
Come back next week with a positive story.
That's not a positive
Folks,
story.
have a great Sunday. We'll see you
Talk
soon.
to you next week.
Thank you.